coming up on this episode of the Spiro Podcast.
I think this takes it back to when I got that business coach. They were trying to learn about me and how I got to 75,000 in my first year. And we brought it all back to trust.
Welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Kivimaki and Craig Magrum.
Hi, and welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro, as we've mentioned in the past, is a software platform designed to help you manage your day-to-day real estate media business and really ultimately to help it grow. That's our goal on this podcast, to help you build a strong business and help your business grow. So welcome back to another week. Each and every week, our co-host and our founder and owner of Spiro, Todd Kivimaki. Welcome back, Todd.
Craig, it's great to be here. Happy New Year, everyone. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we have an exciting lineup, an amazing individual on today. So we will get to him shortly, but it's great to be here with you all. Also, I wanted to mention that it is great to hear from all of you. We love hearing from our listeners. It is incredible. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can leave a comment if you are watching this on YouTube, hello@spiro.media if you like email, or if you are a Spiro user, join us over in the Spiro super user group on the Facebook. And we will, the Facebook.
Is that like the Google?
Yes, it is. Like the Ohio State University.
I like what you did there.
Yeah, I kind of say the Facebook. It's kind of like an older, like I don't know what I'm doing, but go ahead, Craig.
Well, you said the Ohio State University. Now, for those of you that may not know, Todd and I were Wild Video Tours and Spiro's in Ohio. We're both unabashedly Buckeye fans. Of course, the national championship happening on Monday. We record this on Friday. So, Todd, you saying the Ohio State University, I hope that we actually pull off the win and can still proudly say the Ohio State University.
Yes.
This is probably being published Tuesday morning, so we'll see what happens.
Yes, either all of Ohio is burning or we're celebrating. So it's one or the other. That's the way we do football in Ohio. It's like you could win every game but one and you had a losing year. That's
true. There's really only one game that really matters. And we lost it this year. Anyway, we're getting off track very quickly.
So,
Spiro, let's dive into Spiro Updates, Todd.
Spiro Updates. Thank you, Craig. Save this sinking ship. Here we go, y'all. We just pushed them. There was 10 of them for you. I'm going to read them real quick. One of the biggest one is we hear from you and you guys say, hey, this is feel like we sell this as our system and we want our brand to shine a little bit more. And I actually love that you sell it as your system because I've sold it as my system to our clients at WOW for 21 years. And that ownership, I love that idea. So what we've done is we've put your brand a little more forward in that we have taken the primary color that you have set, and now it is in more places throughout the system. So like the little pink loading icon that when the page loads, it's now your primary color. It's not pink anymore. And we've removed that pink and we've replaced your primary color in various portions throughout the system. Another one of those portions is the tracking website for your clients. This is where subscribers go to get text message or to get updates on the appointment. They also get text message updates, but this is like the Domino's pizza tracker. It's now your brand colors. So the third thing is property websites. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of a branded property website, we used to say powered by Spiro, and you could click Spiro and go to the Spiro website. And some of you are like, hey, can you just remove that? And we removed it. So we're not partial to our brand. We appreciate you guys all pushing our brand out there, but we understand that property website's for you guys, and we were happy to remove that. So finally, you can rename some of the pages that your agents use. So like the download page, you could put your company name in there and a couple of other pages. So be sure to check out settings, my company, and branding for those updates. A few other notable ones, I won't cover all of them, but unit numbers are now everywhere. If your address has a unit number, we've put it everywhere that the address shows. So that was a big one that you guys asked for, and just a quality of life update. And we have heard you on that one. Invoice reminders options. Also, we've heard from you on this one, and we're happy to put this update out. You can now set your own invoice reminder schedule. How many times does a client get an invoice before it's due and after it is due? So you can set that in your invoicing section. You can now turn off a display page or a download page. Some of you said, hey, I do headshots and I load them into Spiro, and it doesn't really make sense to give them a property website of the headshots. Can I turn the property website off? Yes, you can. Now, some of your clients might want a full property website of their head on the page. I don't know. I've worked with agents for a long time. Many of them don't. Anyways, the power's in your hands. We did over 25 refinements in the mobile optimization, the UI and the UX. Now, when you edit a bundle, the order of your services will stick. They used to go back to alphabetic when you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I had them in an order that I liked. They now stick. We did things with taxes, quick viewing of client invoices. We enhanced a few reports, and we also automatically have added the first 15 images in the image slider on the property website. So it feels more like a video that's scrolling to your clients. Craig, way more than a minute, but I'll pay the bill.
That's okay. That's a lot of updates. And I love, the advantage that we have is being Spiro is we're Wow Video Tours that built Spiro, right? So we get what you're talking about with the suggestions that you're making the page your branding colors instead of Spiro's branding colors. There is a feature where you can upvote things that you're looking for in the software called Feature Base, I believe that it's called. So for those that aren't familiar with that, can you explain that real quick? And then we'll dive into our topic this week.
Yeah, so it's a page, and this is based on your feedback that you all said, hey, where can I suggest something and see what you're working on? And so if you go to spiromedia.featurebase.app, we'll put it in the show notes. Also, if you're in Spiro, the upper right-hand corner, there's a feedback icon. Just click on that. It will take you directly. But on this board, you can see what others have suggested, and you can see the number of times that it has been upvoted, and you can upvote it for it if you like that suggestion. Also, there's a tab where you can see what we are working on and what has been completed. So just a nice way to go engage with the community there. And we naturally work on the features that the most of you want out there.
It's an awesome feature. We try to be responsive.
We do.
All right. Well, so this year we started, actually the end of last year, we started to invite some more guests on because we want to hear from the real estate media community, the successes that they're having, the things that they're learning and implementing in their businesses, things that are helping them grow. So we're trying to incorporate more guests on the Spiro podcast to highlight other areas of our industry, other owners that are doing some pretty fantastic things in their businesses. And this week is no exception. We do have a guest this week that, Todd, I'm going to let you introduce our guest this week and kind of get this episode set up here.
Yes, it'd be my pleasure. So this individual is just a firecracker of energy. And also the thing that I want you all to take away today is how he uses that energy to build relationships. This might be a word that Craig and I use the most on here. And if you ask a question, typically if I respond to you, say on Facebook, and it's about building business, like growing your business, my answer generally always has, you have to build more relationships, build better relationships. Yeah. This individual might be the king of building relationships, just the warmth and the sincerity and that he's built with his clients is amazing. So that is the biggest thing today, that if you are out there at the beginning of 2025 saying, hey, I have these new big goals that I want to hit, how am I going to get more agents to understand that I want to work and can work for them and I can help their business stand out? It is through relationship building, 100%. Yep. And so I'm excited today. Without further ado, Tyler Graham of Weston Media is on the show today. Welcome, Tyler. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you guys for having me.
Pleasure to have you on here today. Tyler, if you wouldn't mind just starting off, if you could just give everyone who doesn't know you on the show just a little background about how you came into real estate media, where you're at with your business, just to bring us up to speed with what your history in real estate media.
Yeah, I'll try to be really quick on this, but honestly, I feel like it takes a whole story. So I got into photography in like 2020 during COVID. I took my stimulus check, $800, and bought a Nikon D800 on Facebook. And I grew up in the horse industry, hunter jumpers, where they jump the sticks. Yes. And I did that through college to make money on the side on the weekends. And that kind of built up, and I bought some new gear, had some gear stolen, and all kinds of other stuff. So finally, like I mentioned, I grew up in the horse industry. I was finishing up my bachelor's, starting to get my master's, and I was working at a farm, riding about 8 to 10 horses a day, shoveling horse crap, all that other good stuff. But once I was about midway through my master's, I was like, okay, I'm about to have my master's. I cannot be doing this. So I was like, okay, you have all this camera equipment. What can you do? And I started seeing stuff on Instagram about photographers, how they can make money with real estate. And so 11 o'clock at night one night, I clicked on this ad, bought this course, learned real estate photography. And March of 2023, I did that January. March of 2023 was my first paid shoot. 2023, I did about $75,000 in revenue.
Wow.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I mean,
First year?
that was without that was based on what I learned. I mean, the course was basically set up like YouTube. And then, so I did all that, and that was based on referrals and just kind of building my business. And then January of 2024, and at the time I was using Aereo or whatever. And then I got a business coach, and we kind of talked about goals and everything. And I was like, okay, I want to hit, I think I said like $14,000 a month. I wanted to double my revenue because my highest revenue was November of 23 was 7,000. And they were like, okay, let's do it. I did that the next month.
Wow.
So February, yeah, wow. It was really great. And I switched over to Spiro right in February. So we're coming up on, in a month, I'll be at my 1-year anniversary with Spiro. But in 2024, I did $250,000 in revenue. So that was so crazy to and May, considering May was whenever I was in the hiring process, and I did 30,000 of revenue just on my own without other photographers.
As a solo shooter, you did 30,000 in a month.
Yeah. And
wow.
I remember looking at my Spiro reports and stuff, and I was like, this is crazy.
Did you sleep at all during that time? I mean,
I slept on coffee.
Right.
I mean, I literally started, I was in such a routine of wake up, drink coffee, and then I would pack my energy drink, and then I would pack my little Kind bars in the car with me. And I was doing sunrise shoots, all day shoots, ending with sunset shoots. And then obviously on the weekends, I was going out with friends and stuff. So I just turned 25 last week. So it's been a great year, 2 years in the business, I should say. And here we are now. I've got 2 photographers, 2 VAs, working on a 3rd VA. And really my VA should be where I am because they do my Spiro more than I do. So,
Todd, do you remember the days of 25 and having that kind of energy?
I do. Yeah, they're more distant in the past, but
it's starting to fade a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Tyler, that's fantastic. Man.
That is. And I think one thing that I want you all to be aware of, and at the end of the day, Tyler makes this seem very easy. And the thing that I want you to pick up on here is the amount of relationship building and hard work that he's willing to put in. Just pull up your boots and work hard. Like you said, like when it was horses and it was the way that he was making money, like what I'm going to shovel horse crap to get, whatever I can do to build the business. And then he went all in on real estate photography, and from 75K in a first year, which is incredible. And then to go to $250,000 in the second year is just insane. One thing. Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
One thing that popped out to me that you said, Tyler, immediately, Todd, did you notice 1 year in, he hired a business coach after just 1 year of doing it? And the investment, okay, so the expenditure outlay for that can be steep sometimes, but look at the ROI on that he got. Dude, Tyler, that's awesome. Smart business move.
And it was no question. So the business coach was a 6-month thing. And as soon as that 6 months ended, they were like, okay, do you want to sign up again? I was like, take my money. So, I mean, I spent in the first year, I got like a little bit of a discount for the second time around, but I spent $25,000 in coaching my first year. So definitely worth it.
And Tyler, you also mentioned about your master's. So why is education so important to you?
So for me, it was kind of like just growing up. And I know a lot of people go through different scenarios, but I mean, we were like dirt poor. Like my dad literally sold like farm animals to pay rent to our landlord and stuff growing up. And it was me, my dad, and my older brother, Colton. And then we met our stepmom right around the age of like 11, and both of their incomes, we ended up renting another house while our house was being built. We built our farm by hand, basically, and did little by little. And it just, I was grateful for everything I had at the time. I didn't realize what I didn't have, but nobody in my family other than my stepmom had an education. And so I wanted to continue my education, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought that I wanted to be in a 9-to-5, Monday through Friday, full benefit type job. Like that's what I thought I was going to be doing. And this was supposed to be a little side gig while I was doing the horse shows, finishing up my master's. Because when I started in January of 2023, I didn't finish my master's until July. So I still, while I was making $30,000 a month, I was doing my finals.
Oh my goodness.
For my master's. So it's been like seriously such a crazy thing. But like you mentioned, the energy and knowing that the finish line was right there till I set my next goal. Meeting the goals is what it's all about, and then setting those higher goals for me.
Plus, energy drinks on top of coffee doesn't hurt with the energy department.
Yes.
You offset what's in the energy drinks with the Kind bar, right? That kind of is the counteract.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, I put on this jacket this morning and I felt something in my pocket from Christmas. And I was like, I got a Dunkin' card and a Starbucks card that's like still in my pocket.
Oh, that's great. But hard work. And I just want to make this point. Tyler, where are you coming from us? Where are you coming to us right now on this podcast?
So I am based out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And the funny story is right before I started the real estate in January, October, I had reached out to a local real estate company because I followed them and I loved their work. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can see myself doing this. They put out a job posting and we communicated and it was great. And I thought I was actually going to join their team. And then they ultimately felt like my horse show photography was going to intervene with some of their scheduling and stuff. So I think they said that it wasn't going to be a good fit. And I was like, okay. So I went and started mine. And then 3 months into starting my business, I got a DM saying, hey, we would love for you to dissolve your business and join us. I'm like, no, thank you.
I mean, that's where you're like, my hard work paid off, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I would have joined their team, I mean, I would have felt a disservice to them to like cut off and do my own thing. So I'm glad that I never did that.
You know, Todd, if you remember, we did an episode long time ago on the question of brokerage exclusivity, when a brokerage wants you exclusively to themselves. And do you do that? Do you not do that? And I think we concluded, you really don't want to do that. So, But so Tyler, let's dive in even a little bit deeper on where you're coming from this morning, specifically exact location where you're recording this podcast from, because I think this is a first in the history of the Spiro podcast.
I am recording from a vacant listing.
So,
I may or may not be sitting on a table, but we won't go there.
So what led to this?
January, last January was super slow. It was time. I just hired the business coach. I was doing $7,000 a month, and I thought that I was going to have this month to really get more systems in place to set up for May of 2025. But turns out we are fully booked, and we have been fully booked for the past 3 weeks. And we are, for the very first time in like 10 years, supposed to be getting snow next week. So everyone's like freaking out.
So the thing that I just love about you, Tyler, again, back to hard work. It's at our company, its core value number 2 is hard work. And I always say if it was easy, anyone would do it. And the thing I want your listeners out there to be careful, Tyler disguises it very well because he doesn't want anyone to feel that hard work he's going through. And he's got this great personality. But think about this. He was up super early. We record early in the morning. He was up super early to keep a client happy. He's at the listing so he can get it done. He's fitting in this podcast. So it's just that idea of trying to always take care of your clients. And I think ultimately that's why you've scaled so quickly, Tyler. There's a story he was telling us off air before this. And I think this is like a goal. I would love to make it a goal of mine. So Tyler just had a birthday a couple weeks ago, and in his invite list, he had just as many realtors as he did friends that are not realtors. And he would call those realtors friends. I think all of his realtors are friends of his. And the thing about it is how do you build relationships so well, like Tyler, that you have other realtors that you work for that want to be on the invite list to your birthday party? I think that just speaks a testament. And he was telling us that as he was shooting other houses, they were mentioning like, hey, how, the birthday, I didn't get on the invite list. Like, think about that, y'all. Your clients want to come to your birthday party. That blows my mind, Craig.
That I know. I'm starting to think, should I do that? My 50th is coming up in a year, almost, just over a year. Yeah.
You do it so naturally, but for those listeners out there that are a little bit terrified or introverted and couldn't even fathom how they would even build those relationships, what's your secret sauce? What's your strategy? Where should somebody start today to begin building better relationships?
Yeah, and I think this takes it back to when I got that business coach. They were trying to learn about me and how I got to 75,000 in my first year, and we brought it all back to trust. Like, they trusted me with their listings and basically what they're going to end up paying for their media. And that's because I wasn't going to be doing more than a listing needed, nor was I going to be scared to say, hey, let's upgrade you. And loyalty, everyone's always like, oh, I'm loyal. I don't care if you're loyal. Like, if you want to go use another photographer, that's fine. The agent that was here today, she's a broker, and she was mentioning to me, she's like, do you want to come do a brokerage presentation? And I said, I would love to. She's like, yeah, I think a lot of our agents will switch to you. They're really loyal. And I said, well, listen, I work with plenty of agents who only use me for certain listings, for certain things. I'm not going to force someone or try to make them feel uncomfortable trying to switch them from another photographer. And I've had agents that have switched to other photographers that I'm still friends with. I am a part of my local women's council. I'm a part of my local young professionals network. I am a platinum sponsor for my CCAR or local organization, which is a $10,000 sponsorship. I am a part of my BNI group. I am a part of so many organizations. Caffeinated Closers, they have a coffee group for real estate agents. I am a part of that. And so many of them work with so many different people, but they still all know me. And like yesterday, I did headshots and lifestyle shoots because they knew that I was going to help them feel comfortable in front of the camera. And then they went and did their listing photos that afternoon with their other photographer. And I don't feel some type of way. Now, granted, when I see photos that aren't mine, that I'm like, oh, shoot, like, oh, that sucks. But I am like, okay, let me just go get 5 more clients. Like this month, it's January 17th, and I checked my Spiro this morning, and I messaged my photographers, and I was like, can y'all believe that we've already have 15 new clients this month? Like, it's so wild.
Wow.
And we were just looking at numbers and everything else. And so, yeah, just building that trust and having a simple conversation, letting them know that, listen, if it doesn't work out, we don't have to, be awkward. But like, if you need a video, I'm going to do a video. And if you can't afford a video, I'm going to do it for you anyways and give it to you for free.
Craig, the thing I can just think about to tie this into what Tyler does is he truly serves his clients with no expectations in mind.
Right. And that does build a basis of trust. Can I share a quick story that kind of ties into how Tyler is doing things? So yesterday I went out and did a shoot for a client that I've shot for a while and have a really good relationship with. Well, she tried their in-house marketing department's photographer for a new construction build. And she ended up having me come out and reshoot it because she wasn't happy with the results and was telling me what her concerns were. One of them was, color cast, things like that. And I said, well, without seeing it myself, I can't really judge that, but we'll do our best for you. So I got to the shoot, and some of the color concerns that she had, I actually agreed with our competition with the way they edited them. So after I was done with the shoot, I called her and said, hey, Nancy, there's 3 things I want to go over with you that you had mentioned to me. And I went through item by item where I thought our competition was actually correct in how they initially edited things, and said, this is what I saw with my eyes. There are brown undertones to this gray stain. So actually they were kind of correct in how they edited that. And she said, I appreciate that. If I owe them, credit where credit's due, then I'll do that. And that's what I respect about you, with being a professional, having a professional's eyes, and being honest with me. So I don't want to lose the business, but if we establish ourselves as professionals that act with integrity and honesty in how we do our business and interact with our clients, the dividends of that long term, as Tyler is sharing with us, will pay off. You might have clients that do wander from time to time, but because they know they can trust you, they're going to come back at some point. You took the time to be honest with them and to build relationship with them, and people respect that. So Tyler, kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just offering that first free shoot. I still do that to this day. I don't need to offer the free shoot, but I do. And that's also helped build trust, because they're like, can you send me some of your work? And I'm like, just go to this link. It's my Instagram. And they're like, you're offering free shoots? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's an opportunity for you to test out the services, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. And nobody loves a pressure. What consumer loves to buy under pressure? Nobody. It's so smart. It's such contrary to the way everyone else operates, and it's so smart to do it that way. Yes, you might take a little bit of a hit up front, but remember, we all started our business not to run it for 6 months. We started to do it for the rest of our life, or potentially exit from it, or grow a team, or not have anything to do with it. So if you think short term, you will never like that. That will never equate in your brain. But thinking long-term is where that begins to make a world of sense.
There's 2 things, Todd, if you don't mind, that I'd like to kind of key on with Tyler. One, how he handled all the hiring that he had to do, the growing pains. Tyler, that's something I want to kind of get your input on. But Todd, do you mind kind of introducing how you even met Tyler and why we have him on the podcast right now? Because we didn't give much of an introduction there.
Yeah. So Tyler is a Spiro user, and Tyler is also active and engaging, of big surprise, right? In Eli Jones's group, the REPP group. So we met through there, and then we met in person this year in Vegas. So Tyler was a speaker on stage at the conference, and he spoke about growing his business. And as I sat there, like the things that he was doing and he shared with you today, and there's many more, is amazing. And actually, Tyler and I, we crossed paths in between a break or going to and from a room. And just, he is who he is everywhere. So this is not like an on stage or on podcast. Like the beautiful thing about Tyler is he is who he is, and he's so genuine, and he makes you feel so warm. And in the engaging with Tyler, there is so much to learn. And I think we hear all the time. So that's why I thought it was so important to have him on the podcast, is because if you can begin to learn on some of these things and even script it, and you don't have to be Tyler, but if you can start to put some of these things into your own words and feel comfortable with things like what he's doing, it works, everyone. Listen, in his first year, less than a full year, he did 75K and then scaled to 4 times that to 250,000. So this is where it's like simple, but not easy. You might be like, yeah, it's easy for Tyler. It's really not. He disguises it. And I want to say that too, because I want you to be careful to think like Tyler doesn't want you to feel like he's doing a lot of work, but he actually is. And I say that because I've talked to some of you and after the conference, and some of you are like, man, Tyler, it feels like he's not even doing anything, and I can't get my business off the ground. It's like, no, Tyler is doing a ton. He just makes it seem easy. And all the little hard work that he puts in is super important. So that's why I thought it was so important to have him on today. Absolutely.
So that's a great setup then, Tyler, to what I'm really curious about, because of how fast you grew. I mean, there's, physically growing, there's growing pains. So what were those initial really strong pains you felt? Can you describe maybe 2 or 3 of those, and then how you address those? For somebody that maybe is experiencing similar growth, how did you navigate those growing pains, and specifically, what did you do to handle those?
I can easily say the top 3 growing pains that I experienced was 1, growing too fast, 2, growing fast with the systems that I had in place, as far as me waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning just to deliver. I remember doing that last year, and when I got my business coach and they were talking about my schedule, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm waking up at 4 and usually on my way to my first shoot by 7:30. And they're like, okay, so we need to get you a VA. And I was like, I heard about the VAs, but I didn't know what it really was. So then I got a VA. And I spent like 2 weeks teaching them Aereo or Aereo, and they started doing stuff on that. And then the coach was talking about certain things that we could implement into the business to make things easier, online booking and other stuff like that. So then I told my VAs, like, okay, are you ready to switch? So then we got another system in place, Spiro, and kind of navigating the transition from the clients through there into Spiro. And that's actually whenever I had my initial contact with Todd, same as like I'm sure a lot of people, we were emailing and chatting about like, here's my new contact list. Oh, I'm not switched over to Spiro yet, but I got like 10 new clients in Aereo. Can you please take these clients? I don't want to duplicate them. I remember that one really well. And so finally we've got that in line, and then building out Spiro. Anything switching systems is never going to be a walk in the park. And I think everyone needs to understand that, because everyone always like, oh, I need to switch. Like it's just, I don't want to change. You got to change. You got to make the change. It's just one of those things that you have to do in a business. I mean, a local photographer who is my competitor, but also one of my best friends. And I met him through obviously real estate. He uses Spiro, but he doesn't utilize it to its full capabilities. And he's like, oh, I need to get my order up and running. I need to build these order pages. And he's like, do you know if your VA would like build out my stuff, or do you know if I can hire someone to build it out? I said, John, stop it. You need to go home and you need to build this out yourself, because how are you going to be able to manage your company if you don't even know what it does? And he was like, no, you're right. And then his wife like told him the same thing. And then we came into May whenever I knew that I needed to hire, and my coach was telling me in March, he was like, hey, like, let's hire. And I was like, I'm busy. Well, then I like spitfired and hired like 3 people, actually
Wow.
3.5 all at once. And in this time I was giving John shoots because I couldn't do all of mine.
Wow.
And I've done some for him, but I mean, he just was able to take on some of mine, thankfully. And see, like that was another part of relationship and trust, even like outside of realtors, just the community in general. But then finally, like hiring, thankfully, one out of the other ones was like perfect. She's still with me today, and she's like my ride or die in the business. And the other 2, they worked and they were good, but it didn't work out, which is fine. I shouldn't try to hire 3 people all at once. It was crazy. And then fast forward a little bit, I got another photographer, and they do some part-time stuff. And now I actually just put out another Indeed posting last week that they've been asking me, my coach has been asking me to put out forever, for 2 more positions, but definitely going to hire one. And then once that one gets trained up with Camilla, then I can work on getting the other one in place. But it's just really playing catch up. I mean, there really is a such thing as growing too fast, and you don't want to, you got to make sure that you can compensate for that volume so that you don't justify quality and the trust with the others, because we've been also doing a lot of reshoots, and a lot of mistakes do happen whenever we get super crazy like this. And it's people get sick this time of year, and we make mistakes, and trying to correct those mistakes while also getting 15 new clients it's a lot.
Yeah, a lot to manage. Okay, so I love the idea of, I just see relationships in everything you do. It's I know I keep saying it, y'all, but it's so impactful. The relationships he built with other photographers in town. Like many of us, again, we think, oh, that's our competition. Like, we would like give them a mean face if we passed them by in the grocery store, like, it's like, like, oh, we don't want them to know anything about us. And Tyler's like, hey, he's my buddy. Like I'm helping him out. And like, by the way, like, hey, I'm going to send you shoots, like help me, help you kind of thing. And I assume that transitions into, let's go a little bit deeper in the hiring process, and how important are relationships you build with then your photographers and your staff?
So I have a really hard time with boundaries. Like she's like, everyone's a friend to me. I mean, until you give me a reason not to be your friend. So I feel like in my next step of hiring, do I want to create those boundaries or not? But Camilla also never has overstepped any boundaries to where like I feel like it's an invasion of privacy. But just as people have trust in me, I have trust in her. Switching this year has been there's been so many changes. I can't personally keep up with everything alone, because what people also don't understand is I'm still running another horse show photography business on the side that also does 6 figures a year. So I have to do that too. But Camilla, she has full access to everything. She sees what we make. She knows how many shoots we do. She like, if she wanted to, she could take me down. But just, I don't know. I just really love people, and I love working with people that want to work with me. So I don't want to limit our boundaries. Now, granted, my new photographers will not have access to Spiro like Camilla, but if there's anything I can say, I know that when she moves on to her next position, because she moves in May, she's set. She knows everything, and I'm super happy for her.
So let me ask if I can pick your brain on this. You mentioned that there's 2 photographers that you had hired that ultimately it ended up not working out. So approaching relationships the way you do with friendships, how do you handle letting somebody go that is a friend? Because that's kind of hard, I would think. Yeah.
So being super transparent through the whole process was something that the coach made sure that I was aware of. And I was, to the extent as much as I felt that I could be, because I'd never hired anyone. I mean, for my horse shows, I hired contractors, but they also do what I do, and I just gave them money at the end of the weekend. The one photographer was no longer with me because she worked a little bit, and she also was a real estate photographer. So she was just kind of picking up shoots for me. And I was in the very beginning stages, and the pay did not fit her criteria, which is totally fine. She was with me for probably 2 months, and our parting texts were great. I sent her W-2 this morning, and I was like, hey, hope you're well, because she moved to South Dakota or something like that. Yeah. But when she messaged me that this wasn't going to work out, she thanked me for all the knowledge, and like, because I taught her Spiro, because she didn't have a delivery platform. I was like, get this. It's per job, especially if you're going to, because I knew she was going to move at some point in the future. I said, this job or this platform is based on volume, so you only pay for what you provide. So she learned all that. So she got a lot of knowledge out of it, and she thanked me for that. And the other guy, I don't know, it just was more of like a communication type issue. And hopefully he doesn't watch this, but I remember training him for a long time and just little things here and there. And then I think the final thing was just like walking in and he was shooting a room with the fan on, and I was like, oh, this is not going to work. And like, it is what it is. And I am all about giving chances. I mean, I think in real estate photography, we all have issues at somewhere, especially with editing at some point in time. And like, I give chance after chance after chance after chance, but it's just such a big change that you want to give them the chance to make a difference, because it's going to be more hard work on your end. But I had to switch 3 editors this last year just because the volume. It wasn't anything that they were really doing on their end, other than the fact that I was getting jobs too late. Like, it wasn't, I couldn't critique them on their work. I told them, listen, I need this by 6 a.m. And I was getting stuff 7, 8, 9, and it didn't work for me.
One thing we say here at the office, Tyler, is we always suggest that everyone is generous with their information. And I think that's what you've done. And the thing is that if you have an individual that's an employee, and even if that employee crosses over to being a friend, I have hired friends, I have hired family members, I have worked with them. And I think it's important that if they're not doing something the way you would like it to be done, don't assume they're doing it on purpose. Don't assume they're doing it because they want to snub you or are angry at you or want to mess up your business. I have done that in the past because I assumed that what was in my head was automatically in that employee's head. And that is a big thought error. That is very incorrect. And so we always use here the idea of being generous with information. And we use it in that way because many of us are a high C personality where we want everyone else to be okay. And we'll take things on our shoulders to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I think one thing that's important is you're actually not helping anybody. And yes, that conversation might seem a little awkward to have, but if you're not generous, then you are being, greedy with the information. And I think that helps me, at least when I'm like, oh, I need to tell this person, like, just tell them and don't have bias with it. Don't assume that they are doing that thing to hurt you. They probably are doing it for a very good reason. Just a quick story. We have a photographer in one of our cities, and he was not communicating well back to the office. And he was doing things like he was picking up shoots on his own. An agent be like, hey, I've got a house 2 blocks over. Can you shoot it? He was not giving notes about shooting a video in vertical versus horizontal orientation. And those were all things that sent production and scheduling for a little bit of a loop. But we dug in with him, and we actually realized that he picked up the shoot for the benefit of the doubt of the agent. And he had in mind, like, hey, I'm going to get one more shoot. It's right there. I know my schedule. I'm just going to go and do it. Now, he still needed to communicate. And the other thing with the vertical video is the agent told him, like, hey, I'm going to use it on Instagram. And he just automatically knew that he needed to do vertical. it wasn't communicated properly. So that's just where then we really had to dig in, because we're like, oh, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. Like, no, let's not assume he's doing it again. Like, he actually had our backs. Yes, his communication was not correct, but he was thinking about us first. He actually had to arrange someone to pick up his son to shoot that extra shoot for us. He was going out of our way to help us. He wasn't communicating it very well. So sometimes when you don't go in biased to a situation and you just are generous with information and you truly try to understand what's in that other person's head, I think you can accomplish so much more and you can learn so much more about that person. And then you go, oh, wait a minute, this is really a simple fix. We just need to talk this one through.
I definitely see myself kind of with a lot more obstacles coming with new hires in the future, because I don't want to give someone the access to change orders, discount stuff. It's just, like I mentioned, growing so fast, I wanted to trust. If you're going to have someone on your team, you need to be able to trust them. And that was super big with Camilla, and the fact that I'm able to trust her and be relieved that she's more of almost a photographer / admin than really a photographer, because I know that she's going to do right. And she's going to, if it's a first time agent, we add that discount in there. If she did less than what they order, we change their order for them. If they weren't happy with something, she did it without me really having to ask her to, or she would ask me if she needs to do this, and I would say yes or no. And like today, I had 2 people book at the very end of the day. I put them in for super basic shoots, but they're just exteriors. So I said, hey, change their orders before you submit it. So she's got my back. So
our guest is Tyler Graham of Weston Media in the South Carolina and a little bit of North Carolina too, Tyler?
Basically, yeah, we cover kind of like the coast right there, Ocean Isle type area.
Awesome. Yeah. And he was a panel speaker at the REPP 2024 conference, just as a reminder. So Tyler, we're getting a little bit close to the end of the episode here. And I always like to ask, if you were to speak to another real estate photographer or media company, with you being relatively new, it would be easy. I'm going to twist things up a little bit. It would be easy to encourage other new photographers with what you're learning and give them some advice. But what about the veteran real estate media people? What's something that you would encourage those that have been in the business for a long time to remember? Anything come to mind?
I just would be open to change. I mean, we are constantly changing the way we do things. And just because this is the way we did it 10 plus years ago, I mean, technology itself, Spiro is changing all the time. And I love, so like my VA will literally message me. He's like, hey, Spiro has these updates. Do we want to implement them? I'm like, yes, do it. Like when the QB Casa, or like I'll get the email and I'll say, hey, Spiro sent an email about updates. Can you please implement the QB Casa? When they did the thing about the Dropbox videos, I didn't even see that. He was like, Tyler, good news. Spiro did the Dropbox thing. So that's what I meant by like, they know Spiro better than I know Spiro. And he started at the same time I did, but just be open to change and think about the positive sides of the situations before you think of the negative.
That's good.
Yeah, that is really good. Tyler, thank you so much for your insight today. Just incredible. So much to learn. We need to do this again because I feel like we barely scratched the surface. You are a master at building relationships and managing those and making people feel good. And that is, in my opinion, the true key to your success. So thank you so much for your insight today.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Tyler, again, thank you so much for joining us this week. Your energy and your enthusiasm, it's contagious. I haven't even met you in person, but I can tell. It might be a little bit of the caffeine issue you've got going on there too, but yeah. But it's just awesome and a pleasure just to hear your enthusiasm and the joy. I can tell you're a joyful type of guy, that can carry business a long way too, loving what you do. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and maybe pick your brain on some things, are you open to that?
Of course, definitely. My Instagram is Weston, WESTON .media. That's my real estate photography one. So check it out and hit me up on there. And I would love to answer any questions or just be another friend in the business.
Awesome. I love the community that we're building here, Todd, with guys like with Tyler and the various guests we've had on. So Tyler, thanks for being a part of it.
I did have one more question. Just you mentioned coaching a few times. I think we would not be doing it. We would be doing a disservice to not mention. I think people can assume because we love the REPP group, but just what coaching are you using? And I think. Yeah,
no, I just didn't want to overstep any boundaries, but I used Eli Jones's course, like you mentioned before, REPP. I started with their video course before I switched over to their coaching. Kenny Cubis was my coach, and he is my coach right now, but don't tell anybody because he's not supposed to be. But yeah, definitely, if you're interested in coaching, you can. I actually have an ambassador account through them to kind of speak about stuff in my daily life, Spiro, open phone, stuff like that. That Instagram is It's Tyler Graham. And you can follow me on there as well. And I go over some tips and tricks on Spiro.
Well, guys, that wraps up another episode of the Spiro podcast. And again, thank you so much for joining us. If you're a first-time listener or viewer, welcome to the podcast. We would love to hear from you. If you've got some real estate media-based questions about the business of real estate media, we would love to hear from you. We're open to those questions as topics for the podcast because we want this to benefit you. So feel free to drop us an email. It's hello@spiro.media. If you'd like to learn more about the Spiro platform, we invite you to visit the website. It's very easy, just spiro.media. So we will be back next week. And Todd, it's good to be getting off on a good foot here at the first of the year. Well, not the first, it's the second episode, but the beginning of the year. And We're excited. We're excited to see what 2025 brings. All right. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up. We always like to remind you during this quote unquote slower time of year, not in Tyler's case, but make sure that you take the time to be thankful for the blessings in your life and make sure you take a breath. You have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and Wow Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.